He's everything I hoped he would be. I think that kind of reflects in all of the movies he's done up until now, and hopefully in this one. There's been a lot of thought that's gone into everything. It's about a guy a type of guy, really, who is feeling increasingly powerless in the new world that we're all moving into, that's moving really fast and leaving him behind. And he has value, and he has worth, and and he wants to work, and he wants to contribute, but he's feeling a little helpless, and a lot comes out of that. A lot of rage and a lot of sadness and shame, and so that's all baked into the writing, and that was and that's I think another thing that made it interesting to have Tom and Thomas and Noe collaborating on the script, because they come at it at very specific viewpoints. Tom is very American and they are very French, and so something I think wonderful happened in the alchemy there. It's about a man who's trying to repair his relationship with his daughter, and ultimately that's at the center of it. And he goes on this incredible journey, and it's somebody who's uniquely American, a roughneck from Oklahoma, which is a very specific type of guy, and who winds up in France and in Marseille of all places. So I go to Marseille to visit her in prison and kind of take on the task of trying to exonerate her for the crime she's been accused of. There was a lot of research, to try to nail the guy that I'm playing. Like I said, it's a very specific type of person. When you go out and hang out with these guys, they have a certain look and a certain sensibility. And some of them have these stories, depending on kind of where in the spectrum of the level of mistakes that they've made. A lot of them do report that when you're, as a roughneck, you kind of go into it very young, kind of out of high school, and when the fields are up, you're getting a lot of money. You're kind of like rock stars, and so they kind of behave on that trajectory where some of them live real fast and hard and kind of squander the money they make, or they make some mistakes, or they do damage to their kind of core relationships with people close to them, and that's kind of where we find this guy. He's clearly got a past, and he's made a lot of mistakes as a father, and he's at a place where he's trying to get his life together and get this relationship back on track with his daughter. He carries a lot of guilt and shame around how he's behaved in the past. A lot of that gets determined by just coming out here to Oklahoma and hanging out with those guys and talking to them. We were really lucky to get the access that we got, and people were very honest with us. And Tom, and throughout the course of his research and his writing, collected a lot of stories, and a lot of that stuff is in the movie and kind of baked into Bill's kind of backstory. She was a student at OSU and went on an exchange program, and just announced to him one day that she was going to Marseille, and he didn't even know where that was. And you get the sense that she wanted to get far away from her life in Oklahoma, and to a certain extent from him. Like, she doesn't have, she's got a damaged relationship with him. And she's gone off and she fell in love with a student in Marseille, a young woman who was at the university as part of this outreach program. She's from the other side of the tracks, and that's the girl who ends up getting murdered. And so she gets accused of that murder, and this is all in the backstory, and we kind of come to realize that it was this sensational case, and it was all over the news, and kind of she was dragged through the tabloids and kind of convicted in the public sphere. For one, he believes she's innocent, so he doesn't doesn't want to give up on her, and the other thing is he's carrying all this guilt and shame for not having been there for her in the past, and she doesn't have anyone else to be there for her, and he wants so badly to do something wonderful for her and to earn her trust again and her forgiveness, and so you see him make, you know, some bad decisions in an attempt to do something great for his daughter, and he's just in over his head. She's incredible. This whole cast is just remarkable, and the scenes are really intense. I mean, Abby, like, you know, it's all of these scenes in prison, and she's desperate to get out, and she goes on this whole kind of emotional journey. But it was very intense shooting those scenes because we just stacked them all together and shot them, and it was pages and pages every day, and the scenes were not easy scenes. And she has to drive the whole movie. She's, you know, so we really relied on her to kind of be somewhat of an engine for Bill, to get him going. I loved working with her, and I hope that we captured a real relationship between real people. It's not a bodice-ripping kind of Hollywood sensational relationship. It's a very real day in and day out of real people who are kind of broken and who, but who deserve to be loved and see that in each other. And it feels like a very real and kind of mature relationship. She's like the Meryl Streep of 8-year-olds. She's just incredible, and I mean, sometimes I've seen it in performances on screen before with kids, that sometimes you just get lightning in a bottle, and that's what happened with us. I mean, she was somehow incapable of doing the scene the same way twice, which is something that it takes a lot of people decades to learn, you know, but something new is happening for her, and she's just very alive in the moment in all of these scenes. And we were all just, I mean, after the first day of shooting, Tom and I just kind of decided it's like a pitcher who's throwing a no-hitter. Like, just let her sit in her side of the dugout. Like, don't mess it up. Don't jinx it, you know. And a lot of it was about keeping it fun for her, because she is 8 years old, and movie sets can be a bore and I think Tom did a great job, and Mark, who was working with her, they did a beautiful job of keeping it playful. Marseille is an unbelievably beautiful city, and then it's got, you know, you go right outside of Marseille and you've got the calanques that are right there, which are these beautiful kind of canyons that the water's carved into over the years, and you can hike down and swim there. And so we really did it. Hopefully this movie will look like a love letter to Marseille, because it's a really special place. And the idea of this guy trying to navigate this place and how his world just completely opens up, you know, and it's that tragic thing of it opens up, but you can't ever really escape who you are when you can experience something, you know, all at once, where you're not getting up and pausing it, or you're letting it wash over you, and you're sitting there with, you know, uninterrupted with other people in your community who might be friends or they might be total strangers, but you're having this experience together. That's always the best way to do it. And, you know, the performances are always geared towards that. The shots are geared towards that. You know, we don't make these things thinking that someone's going to watch it on their phone. You know, like we were shooting a scene today, it was supposed to be the wreckage of a tornado. The amount of detail, the amount of work that went into building this, and it's the opening of the movie, but it's a very brief kind of, you know, it'll be under a minute in the movie, I'm sure, but the you know, hundreds and hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of man hours that went into creating this disaster site, you know, it's meant to be enjoyed, you know, in as large a format as possible.
What did you do?
You just have to trust me.